to another stream. It's been a little while since we've done a stream. It's probably been about a week and a half, 2 weeks, I think. Now, I've had a lot of different things going on over the past couple of weeks. It's been quite hectic, and there's been lots of different things happening, and there has been it's been a really, really crazy time, and I've not had time to really come live. So I thought I'd come live, and I thought I'd give you some updates, because I've been quite busy, and there's still some busy times coming ahead, and I'm quite looking forward to the times that are coming ahead. And there's also, like, in the beer garden stuff that we haven't done an update on that for a little while as well. For people who don't know, In the Beer Garden is an event that I'm debuting and bringing to Driffield on Bank Holiday Sunday, the 30th of August, and it's going to be an absolute banger. So make sure you do check the information on that and come to it. It's a free entry thing, but we'll talk a bit about it a little bit later on in the stream as well. So let's talk about the past couple of weeks, because the past couple of weeks have they've been good, but they have also been a little bit bad as well. But we'll talk about that as we go on through the stream. So my job outside of doing the DJ stuff, it was very, very certainly looking like it was going to come to an end, and I was unfortunately going to be made redundant from that, which was a little bit I'm not going to say a shock, because with the type of job I do, it's very likely that that type of thing can happen. It's a funded job. Funding comes to an end, and then you're not always guaranteed that you're going to get accepted for more funding, and things can never be guaranteed that they can carry on and things can continue. So I've been in like situations in the past where I've been aware that it's funding is coming to an end, and they are trying to find more funding, and and they may not be able to. And in the past, they've always been able to find funding, luckily, and at this time it was looking like they were unable to find funding. So they started to prepare me that we may have to go down the redundancy route, which it was a bit upsetting, because I love the job that I do. I've done it for nearly 4 years now, and I very much wasn't ready for it to end, even though like that's just the type of thing that unfortunately happens with the nature of the job. So there was a little bit of worry, just more on the situation of, okay, like this is going to come to an end, what is next? And there was some worries, because like there is another job that I do that I really love, and it's a very, very small, like it's a couple of hours a month with another organisation, which is the Gig Buddies. If you've followed this channel for a while, you'll know that I've done a lot of work over the past sort of 4 years with the Gig Buddies, and this year I got an official job to do like a small funded role for 12 months. With obviously the intention that it could carry on, they'll find more funding, like it's another funded job, but something I was really like close and passionate about. There was a little bit of worry that if this current job came to an end and we went down the redundancy route, and then I'd have to like look for other work and seek other work, and that I'd maybe have to get a job that would not allow me to do the Gig Buddies job, and and the Gig Buddies job was something I worked very hard to get that job. I was very much worried that I would lose this funded youth music job, and then like I would have to take like anything for the sake of taking the job, and it might have like gone back to doing like factory work or something, where you're in a factory like 5 days a week, and I haven't got time to do the Gig Buddies stuff, which was that was kind of the worry. But then basically we managed to find a little bit of funding that carries the job on for a little bit longer, which is really, really good. So unfortunately, I wasn't the only one who was going down the redundancy route. There's another person that works in the same office as me. We run two kind of separate projects, but we do kind of work together quite closely. So I do all the music stuff. He does like loads of like video game stuff, script writing, storytelling, and basically funding for that came to an end, and they only found funding for one of the roles, and then they gave us both the option of like applying for this role. And then basically like the role was more music orientated, which was not my work colleague's thing, you know, as he likes music, but not in the sense of like he feels confident in doing a youth music job where you're putting events on and stuff like that. He's definitely more you know, he's definitely more inclined to doing the gaming stuff. So he decided to give the role a miss. So he's still unfortunately going down the redundancy route, and I obviously got the role because he didn't go for it. Although I did put a little write-up of interest of why I should have the role, which probably helped as well. So that's obviously the main thing. So the next thing, the music side of things, what's been going on over the past couple of weeks with music DJing. So I've still been doing the residency at the Book. However, I have started to seek and take more bookings outside of the Book, which I am aiming to. I want to get back to that level. I love the Book, but I do want to get back to that level of like, if I do get another booking, I can accept it and I will go and play it. And you know, maybe just like some weekends I might only be at like the Book on the Saturday, you know, because I'm maybe gigging somewhere else on the Friday. You know, I'm not aiming for that to be like every weekend, but if like every so often, like I can take another booking, and I don't always have to be at the Book, and I can go and do something else, like, you know, like I say, one off kind of like Friday night, or you know, one Saturday night or something, or maybe one weekend I can't do it at all, then I would be very, very happy with that. So that has kind of sort of been happening. So Friday just gone, there was a new pub in Hull that opened in Bransholm, and I basically was part of the opening weekend, and I played music on the Friday night, which it went good, but it also went bad. It went bad in the sense of it wasn't really my fault, but it was quite a bad issue that happened. But we kind of got there in the end. It was a very, very weird sort of situation. So basically, what happened is I turned up to this pub, and they had a little box on the wall near where I was going to DJ, and that was obviously where I would plug in to get sound to the pub speakers. And basically they had these XLR outputs, right? But weirdly, they were the opposite way around. So, you know, like trying to think of the best way I can describe it. Basically, so, you know, like you've got a microphone. So, you know, like the end of a microphone here, this was basically on the box, right? It was this side of the mic, of the lead, that was on the box, which is the female side of an XLR. So basically, like you had to plug one of these in, where normally, if I can find the other end, I think this one's got a jack on it, but normally you would plug the other side of the XLR in. I think I've got the lead somewhere. I've just got to locate where it is. Where actually is it? It might. I think it's here. So I'll show you, because it's very, very weird. Yeah. So basically, right. Normally, like, which is the mad thing, right? So normally I would plug this in, right? Normally this side I would literally like plug this side in, right? But basically I had to plug this side in, right? Which is really, really weird. Normally there would be like the connector to plug this side in, and then like it would plug in kind of like that. But basically it was the opposite way around. So I couldn't plug my wire in because I've got a wire, right? And it wouldn't plug in because it was the wrong side, which is like the really, really crazy thing. So basically I had these two, but because it was the opposite thing, basically because it was the opposite on the system, so basically it was two of these that were on the box, so I couldn't plug them in. So the only thing I could do was to swap the wire around, right? And then like I couldn't do that because I didn't have a wire. So basically, to cut the story short, right, I had to borrow a mic lead from my microphone to try and power the sound, which is like really, really weird. So I did that, and then we were switching over on the box and we weren't getting any sound. We were just getting the buzzing noise. So it wasn't working. And then it was just really, really horrible. And then the box also took HDMI, which is really, really crazy. And I didn't really know what it was for. And they were like, oh, have you tried the I didn't have a HDMI lead. And then luckily they had one upstairs. And then they brought it down and I plugged the laptop into the box with the HDMI. And it gave sound. And I was very, very like, because I've never done that before, literally, genuinely. And basically, like, it kind of screwed me over because I had to bypass the mic mixer. I couldn't use the mic mixer. So basically, we had like sound, but there was no microphone. There was no mixing desk. There was nothing. So even if I'd have took my XDJ RX, I wouldn't have been able to plug it in because there was literally no sound. Like, there was no sound, and it was just crazy. But we managed to get sound in the end. It was just weird, like not having a microphone. So they said they're going to get the box looked at. I think personally the box is fine. I think it just genuinely needs like a lead like with the females. So I didn't have that lead. I think personally, if I had a lead with the female outputs, you know, to plug into that box, like if I had a lead the opposite way around, it would probably work. But like, I'm not certain. I mean, when I plugged my mic lead in, it wasn't working. When I plugged it into one side, one of the outputs, it was making a buzzing noise. When I plugged it into the other one, I got a really faint, quiet sound, but it wasn't, you know, it was really quiet. It was really tinny. I don't know if it just wasn't really the right lead for it. But you know, so she's going to get the box looked at anyway. When we got the sound going, it was an all right gig. I would have liked to have been able to have gone on the microphone. I would have liked to have been able to say like, hey, look, you know, we're at the Meadows grand opening, blah blah blah. If you know this one, sing it. I'm here to blah blah. You know, any requests, you know, be sure to get them in. That kind of thing. And you know, that would have been a really, really cool thing to do. But I couldn't do that because I had no mics. So, but apart from that, they were really happy. They were really pleased. They said, you know, I did a really good job. We were about 45 minutes late to, like, I was meant to start at 8. It was about 8:45 when I eventually got the sound through the HDMI lead that somebody borrowed from a PlayStation upstairs. And I gave the lead back at the end, obviously. So that was that. Got a taxi home, which was pretty cool, and yeah, was a pretty cool, pretty sort of interesting gig, if you like. A couple of days ago, I took a booking to do a wedding on August of 2028, of all days, and all like madness that it's like 2 years away, so that was like pretty mad. But people plan weddings in advance, and they do like to get things kind of sort of down, and then didn't want to know what they're doing, don't they? Which is like really, really obviously like probably a sensible thing to do. You don't even know if couples are even going to still be together by then. A lot can happen in 2 years. But we had a little discussion, found out a little bit about what they want. Obviously it's a bit far off. I said, look, I can cater for a wedding, I can do that type of thing, and then a bit nearer the time we can discuss some more details, and we can take things from there, and I'm happy to do that. So that is in sense what we are going to be doing, which is pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that and seeing what happens with that, and like what they want sort of for the first dance and stuff, and just sort of ensuring that we get everything down to a T, and we get everything nice and smooth for their big day, which is really good. So that was pretty cool. This week we've got Andy Whitby coming to the Plimsoll on Saturday. I'm warming up for Andy Whitby, so I'm super excited for that. You know me, lately I've done a lot of different gigs where I've had to kind of play like everything from the 70s, 80s, 90s, noughties. But if you know me, I do love to get on a good clubland and a good bounce set, and I do like my raves, and it is nice to go back and be able to do that. And I do love doing them like gigs where they can go in any direction, but people do end up wanting a rave, and it goes a little bit like, do you know what I mean? And then basically that is basically really exciting. So that's next Saturday. I'm on at 8 o'clock. Andy Whitby's on at 9 o'clock, and then I am back on again a little bit later on in the evening, which is going to be really cool, and I'm super looking forward to that. And that is going to be really, really cool. I am in discussion with a woman about doing a gig on the 8th or 7th of August, which is the following week. I've just got to kind of work some logistics out, because basically I'm doing... Right, so I've got a little bit of an issue, but there's a slight issue that I'm trying to sort out. So basically, I'm DJing an awards evening, an awards afternoon in a couple of weeks' time, I think it is. I've got to get the exact date again. It's on a Wednesday. And anyway, basically, I've been asked about doing a gig on the 8th of August, 7th of August in Driffield, which means I would be taking all of my speakers and stuff like that. Now, on the 22nd of August, I am doing another gig at the same place, at the cricket club, which is a week before we have our beer garden event. So my plan was to take all the speakers to that gig and then leave them in Driffield for that week. And then obviously they're already in Driffield, we can take them to the Tiger, we can get them set up for the event. All is good, all is sweet, right? So basically, what the issue is if I do this gig on the 7th, I would be taking my speakers all the way to Driffield, and I would have to organise a lift to take them there. And then basically, because of the awards evening, I'd have to bring them all the way back to Hull, and then I'd have to cart them back to Drift again. So I'm just trying to work out the logistics, because ideally I would rather, like, if I'm going to take them to Drift for the sake of like the event being in a couple of weeks, I would rather leave them at Drift. But because of this awards evening, like, it's going to be a pain, like having to get a lift to Drift and back, but then also having to get another lift to Drift and back, like in a couple of weeks time after. And that's where the little issue is. But I will think of like a way to sort something, and we'll see how it goes. But anyway, the point being, like, that is basically where we are. That is pretty much what's happening. So I'm in discussion. I'm just going to find out exactly when this awards evening is. I think, I'm not sure, it might even be like the Wednesday before I do that gig. I just know it's like a Wednesday coming up, but I have a feeling it's that Wednesday that kind of like is around like the 14th, 15th of August type thing. That's where my feeling is that it is. And then I think that's where it's going to create that little bit of issue. But we will see. We will literally see. But with that being said, hopefully I can confirm the gig and all will be good. The 22nd, I am back at the Driffield Cricket Club, and I am doing a gig for like a works party. So some work people are having a bit of a do at the cricket club, and they want a clubland night. And I'm like, come on, somebody put a post in a Driffield group, like, a clubland style DJ. And listen, there isn't many people around the Driffield area apart from me. Like, I mean, I live in Hull, but there isn't many people in Driffield that really play clubland other than me. A lot of people play house. A lot of people do like the usual, like 70s, 80s, 90s, that type of thing. There isn't a lot of people that do play the clubland stuff, and there's not a lot of people that play it like the way I play it. There's people that will take a system and, they'll play the radio edit of Pretty Green Eyes off Spotify, but they don't necessarily know how to mix the clubland and do it as an actual set with, different tracks, highs and lows, remixes, sing-along, feel-good moments. Like I do, I feel like I'm not saying I'm the clubland expert, but I have got knowledge in doing them type of sets now. I've done them for a couple of years, and I really enjoy them. So for me, it's very much up my street. So I was instantly like, yeah, I can do this. I got in touch with a woman. I was like, look, clubland is my thing, and we got it booked in, and she literally messaged about 2 weeks ago, or maybe like just a week and a half ago, just to literally say, like, are you still available for this? Are we still good? And I'm like, yeah, of course we are. So I'm looking forward to that. Then the following week, which is the week that marks in the Beer Garden, I have been booked to play at the Mariners Arms in Driffield, which is really, really cool. So I forgot to tell you this. So a couple of weeks ago, there was, it was just over a week ago, there was an event on at the Mariners Arms. Now, I know the owner of the Mariners. He comes into the book sometimes. He came in once and I was on my actual decks. I was doing a bit of a like clublandy kind of Ibiza kind of set. He absolutely loved it. He said he used to run some bars in Ibiza and stuff. Anyway, cut the long story short, there was an event on last weekend. It was like a house music thing, and one of my friends I know was playing there. He'd kind of put it together, and just by chance I said, look, do you mind if can I mix a tune in? I'm not normally a bit of a person who'll go up to a DJ and like, oh, let us have a go on your decks, but I knew this person, he's a personal friend of mine. I just thought, look, do you mind if I just bring a tune in? And he was like, listen, you can bring a tune in anytime. So, it was really nice. So I mixed 2 tracks in and then gave it back to him, and everybody absolutely loved it. It was a proper vibe. It was just like we were in the good weather, the sunshine, house music was playing, and basically I got a phone call, I believe, for either, I think Tuesday morning, I think it might have been, from the owner of Mariners. Look, he sent me a message, could I give him a call? So I gave him a call, and he wanted to book me on the 28th of August, which is a Friday evening, from like 6 till 10 or something like that, just out playing a little set outside, which I'm really, really happy to do. And basically that's the score. Proper super excited for it, and they're going to be advertising it in any time now, getting some banners and stuff made. So I'm really super excited for it, and I can't wait. And then of course on the Sunday we've got in the Beer Garden, which again, that is set to be another amazing day. So let's move on to some in the Beer Garden updates then, because before we do, I also have a gig the following week. but I can't say too much about it just yet. But it is one of the maddest gigs that I have ever done, and I literally cannot wait to do it. It's going to be absolutely crazy. It really is. It's going to be absolutely crazy. And I won't be at the Book that weekend because I've got to basically do a gig on the Saturday and the Sunday, but it's a daytime thing, and it's an early start. So I can't literally, and I have to do a rehearsal on the Friday night because it's very different, but you're going to love it. But yeah, so in the beer garden, all looking good for it. Just need to order the cable, like the long extension lead that's going to get us the power, and then I just need to basically set up the area and just slam out promotion a bit more on social media. That is somewhere definitely where I've lacked because I've been very busy, and I don't want to let that slip, but I have done a little bit, and I have been like finding it hard to find things to post. Like, we've done all the announcements, all the artists, the full flyers out. There's some bits and bobs that it's a bit early to post them yet, like travel information, taxi numbers, that type of thing. So I've been a little bit like, well, what do I post? And then sometimes it's gone a few days and there hasn't been a post, and it's like, you know, people will forget and lose interest. So I want to get back onto that. But apart from that, like, we just literally have to set up. And we just have to, like, you know, check and you know, get all the artists, like, you know, are you still coming, that type of thing, and it should all be good. So with that being said, that is really all there is to say. You know, let's maybe 2 seconds. So that is pretty much yeah, that is pretty much the score within the beer garden. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully it can be one of many. However, they have put the pub up for sale, so it is unfortunately, you know, unfortunate that has happened, but it has. You know, the event is still good to go ahead, but I'm just thinking of like the future of the event. If it does come to the crunch, there is the Mariners. We could potentially use that in the future to do that. Obviously, you know, that's something that we could negotiate for next year, and you know, we'll kind of see what happens. It's a little bit of a smaller beer garden, still a really good vibe. It's quite big in sense, but there's a lot of it's crammed, it's crammed together. That is the issue. There isn't a lot of, like, it's quite a big sort of long beer garden, but it's very compact. There's, you know, like, there isn't a lot of room there's a lot of tables, there's a lot of you know, there's a lot of different things going on, where the Tiger, it's got the tables, but there is a bit more like space, and there's an area for like a dance floor area, which you know, that would obviously be like pretty cool. The pub itself is a really small, intermittent, you know, really, you know, proper like one of them like backstreet boozers. So we'd have to kind of see how it would work, you know, in that sense, you know. But you know, like I say, we don't know what the future holds. We'll see when the first event has gone down and obviously taken place. With that being said, I think that is about it really for updates. It's been a little bit of a busy one lately. Did a gig with the Gig Buddies DJing. That was quite fun. But you know, they're very different type of gigs. It was a DJ set, but you are very, you know, yeah, you're not playing to a packed out dancing and raving crowd. And it kind of feels like, you know, you're being watched, like you're part of a like theatre or like a live show. A lot of people don't really move around and dance. Some of them can't because of disabilities, obviously. So it is definitely like very weird. I tried to play like some very commercially stuff, but like still show off my DJ skills. They like it. They do clap and they do cheer and they do say I'm amazing, but it's just not that type of crowd where they get up and dance, and it, you know, that's just that unfortunate thing. So yeah, with that being said, I just thought I'd hop on a few quick updates as I've not been live for a little while on here. So anyway, with that being said, make sure to like, make sure to comment, share, and we'll see you soon.